If your client is in layer 1 and you respond with data, you've just become another person trying to sell them AI. The argument shifts from here's evidence to here's why you're wrong to resist. And now you're the problem, not the intervention. The 3 moves I'm about to walk through don't argue for AI adoption. They don't even argue against the resistance. They clear the space for an evaluation that hasn't started. This first move targets the layer coaches most often walk past. Start with what's at stake. Layer 1 is pre-rational. The conclusion arrived before the evidence. So when you bring better evidence to someone in threat mode, you're not reaching the mechanism, you're feeding it. The client produces a counter-argument, and now the two of you are opponents. Arguing for AI when a client is in threat mode isn't coaching, it's advocacy, and advocacy collapses the coaching relationship. Here is why evidence backfires here, and it's counterintuitive. The client didn't reason their way to resistance, they felt their way there. The conclusion came first, and the reasons got recruited afterward to defend it. So when you hand them a benchmark, you haven't informed them. You've handed their threat response fresh material to argue against. The data isn't the problem, the layer is. You reach the layer first, or you don't reach the client at all. So here's move 1. You name the threat. Something like, I notice you had a strong reaction before looking at the evidence. What's that about? Notice what that question is and what it isn't. It's observational. You're noting what happened, a reaction before evidence, not interpreting what it means. It's curious, never clinical, and it's an invitation to self-examination, not a diagnosis you're delivering. In Module 4, we named 5 threat signals: identity, competence, status, belonging, survival, and said the tell is when the argument is about what AI means for the person, not what AI does. That's what this move targets. Get the framing precise because a small shift wrecks it. Wrong. That sounds like an identity threat? That labels the client. It positions you as the expert on their inner life. It closes the door. Right. Before we talked about any specific tool, you had a clear verdict. I'm curious, what's underneath it? Now the client examines their own response. And watch the common failure mode, the coach who learns the 5-layer framework and uses it to argue harder. The research shows you're experiencing a threat response. That's not move 1. That's the same problem wearing a smarter outfit. You hand them the mirror, not the diagnosis. Now, what if the client pushes back? Say they answer, I'm not threatened. I tested this tool for a month and it didn't deliver. That is not a failure. That is data. The question was the intervention. It's in the room now, and either response tells you something real. You've just learned the presenting layer might be layer 2, perception trap, not layer 1. Move 1 is still worth placing lightly. Before the month-long test, you frame this in terms of what it says about the people who use it. Was that intentional? Defensiveness confirms the layer. Specific evidence invites a different conversation. Neither outcome is a loss. One firm boundary on this move. Move 1 applies to layers 1 and 2, not layer 3. Asking, what's that reaction about? To a client making a genuine evidence-grounded objection is condescending. It tells them their reasoning is a symptom rather than a position. The move is precise, and the precision is what makes it powerful. Aimed at the wrong layer, It damages trust and closes the conversation. So sense before you move. Is the objection specific? Is it testable? Does it reference real experience? If yes, you're in layer 3. Engage the evidence. Don't reach for move 1. The diagnostic from the last video tells you which layer you're in. Here's the constraint that decides whether any of this works. Move 1 requires genuine curiosity, not rhetorical technique. If you're asking, what's that about? While privately holding the conclusion you're in threat mode and you need to adopt AI, the client feels the gap. The incongruence is palpable. The move collapses. You're after awareness. The client sees their own response clearly, then decides what to do with that clarity. Move 1 works as a quality of attention, not a technique you deploy. Move 1 targets the threat response before an evaluation can start. Moves 2 and 3 pick up when the client has real data they've read wrong. Same stance, different entry point,